Welcome to 5 Minute Fridays. I'm Dr. Jen Miller. Let's get started on your bite-sized professional learning for today. Welcome to this week's 5 Minute Friday. We are on part 2 of our data protocol today. If you have not watched part 1, please go back and review that. It will guide you through finding your data in Mastery Connect so that you can engage in this protocol effectively. For part 2, we are going to focus on our critical questions 1 and 2. These are going to look a little bit different based on whether you are giving the unit assessment that's being pushed out by your content managers or if you're creating your own assessment. So for the beginning, we are going to focus on those unit assessments that are being pushed out by your content managers. When we look at the data protocol questions 1 and 2, question 1 says, what is it we expect students to know and be able to do? This would be directly pulled from your curriculum guide. So what success criteria did students have to know and do in order to effectively engage in learning this standard? And then for question 2, how will we know that they have learned it? In this piece, we will look at data from the assessment and look at student achievement. When we are looking at unit assessments that are being pushed out by content managers, I am actually going to encourage you to start with question number 2 so that you can hone in on the standards that you need to focus on for the data protocol. Okay, so we're going to start with our data protocol document. We can see that that's pulled up here. While we would normally start with question 1 if we are creating our own assessments, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to question 2 for the assessments that have been given by content managers. So for question 2, how do we know if they have learned it? The first thing we're going to do is give the students the common assessment and analyze that data. So we looked at how to access that data the last 5-Minute Friday. So we are going to pull that up and look at the essential standards that were assessed. So when I look at my Mastery Connect, I pulled up my data. If you forgot how to do that, go back to part 1 of this video. And then in the little 3 dots that come up, you can actually click view and then expanded view, and that pops up this screen right here to make it larger. So if I look at my standards, I can see that I have assessed 5 standards here. So I want to do is take those standards and I'm going to go ahead and put them into my essential standard box, because remember, you're only assessed on essential standards. Then I'm going to use the data from that to fill in the number of mastered, not mastered, the number assessed, and not assessed. So I can go ahead and plug in those numbers. Okay, so I went ahead and added in all of my values. If you'll notice, I actually show the math in each square, and that's just because I want to see what is exemplary and what is proficient in the total number, and then what is progressing and what is emerging in the total number. So for the number of students assessed, I can see that I have 57 students for each of these, which makes sense. And then I need the total number of students not assessed. So I'm going to come over here back to my mastery, and I can kind of see it behind this here. I can see 57 out of 66 students were assessed. So we can just do the math on that and then fill in the number of students that were not assessed. When we look at our table that we created here, we can see that we have all of our essential standards that were assessed, and notice that we have the asterisks by the ones that were reassessed. When we look at our new standards, ESS 1.1 and 1.2, we can see that students have a strong understanding of 1.2. We've got about 50-50, but we have a much weaker understanding of 1.1, where we see only 8 students are in that exemplary and proficient. So 8 have mastered and 49 are in the not mastered category. So we want to really focus on ESS 1.1. And then we see out of our reassessments, we still see a high need around PS 2.2. Fewer questions are asked on the reassessment, so we kind of have to keep that in mind, but we see that that is still a high targeted area that we need to focus on, along with ESS 1.1. So from here, we can now start looking at our data and jump back over to question 1. So we're going to kind of shift back up into what do we want students to know and be able to do. We need to look at the questions that we've asked in the assessment around those standards in order to figure that out. All right, so now that we've identified our two standards that need to be retaught, we are going to look at our item analysis. Again, look at video 1 in case you forgot about that, and see which questions we're going to focus on to create our no-do chart for question 1. So when I look at my Mastery Connect data here for my item analysis, I'm going to focus on my standards ESS 1.1 and PS 2.2. So if I look at ESS 1.1, you're going to look through all of these questions and see which ones had the highest miss rate so that you can start to figure out the areas of misunderstanding around our students' knowledge. So you'll have to analyze each question. Notice ones with really high miss rates. I see like question 4 has a really high miss rate, so I want to analyze that. And then I'm going to also do the same exact thing for PS22. So it's organized by standard here. So I'd look through each of these and see where we had high levels of misconceptions. Again, I see question 22 is probably a flag for me. 23 is a flag. So you're going to look at those questions, and that's going to help you start to look at your no-do chart and create that. And we're going to look at our no and do chart next time we connect on Friday so that we have plenty of time to focus on creating that no-do chart. Thanks for watching this week's 5-Minute Friday. Don't forget to comment below and subscribe. And please ask any questions that you have or make suggestions for future videos. Thanks so much for watching, and happy Friday!